Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Dan and Joe Sports Show. As always, I'm Dan.
And I'm Joe.
And Joe, we're joined today by a special friend of the show, Cary Longstaff. We've had him on the show multiple times before, usually to talk Southern Miss sports. And we got him on to talk some Southern Miss baseball as they're hosting a regional. But we're going to start off with him talking some Nashville Soccer Club as he got to go to their first ever game in their new stadium on May 1st. Glad to have you on the show, Cary, and why don't you tell us about that really unique experience?
Good to be back, guys. Good to see y'all. So, yeah, May 1st, I made my way to Nashville to see the Nashville Soccer Club in their new stadium, GEODIS Park, Castle on the Hill. And it was a great experience, something I'll remember for the rest of my life. If you don't mind, I'm going to dive right into the story and get after it.
Let's do it. I know you got some really neat pictures and videos you want to show us too. And so we want to see that.
So my story actually starts back in the early 2000s when I became a big Premier League fan. I bounced around from team to team, not really falling into place on any team until about the 2015-2016 season, when it looked like throughout that season that Leicester would win the Premier League. So naturally, I became a Leicester supporter. And after that, my good buddy, Jonathan Ruffin, and I started conversing about the Premier League. And he stated how he was a big Tottenham Spur fan. And me being a Leicester supporter at the time, we started to have a little rivalry. Then, back in 2017, the International Champions Cup came to Nashville. And what the International Champions Cup is they bring a group of teams from across the world, and they come to different countries and they play a tournament. So in 2017, we were gifted with Tottenham, Spurs, and Man City. So when that came about, my buddy Jonathan said, "You want to go?" And I debated on if I wanted to go, since I was a Leicester supporter and he was a Spurs supporter. But I knew I could not pass up the opportunity to see a big soccer match live in the United States. So Jonathan and I traveled to Nashville on a sunny Saturday afternoon. And before we made it into the match, I was approached by a group who called themselves NSC. They explained how they were working on bringing an MLS team to Nashville, and there was a big following and a push to make it happen. I was given a card magnet, and I went on my way. Went into the match at Nissan Stadium, and that was one of the best experiences of my life. After I got home, I decided to do some research on this NSC that everyone was talking about and what it could be. Later that year in 2017, a team emerged with aspirations of the MLS. I got intrigued, starting watching matches through the USL days, and then it was announced in 2019 that Nashville Soccer Club would be giving the expansion bid, and I was elated. I was upset that I didn't make the inaugural season opener in person in 2020, but watched on the edge of my seat. Seeing the support of this team and how the community grew around it further cemented its legacy. When I heard that a new stadium was built at the fairgrounds in Nashville, I figured that would be nice to have their own home and stadium. Then the plans came out for that stadium. Then the name came out as GEODIS Park. I knew at the start of this season I had to witness history. So after 5 years, I called my buddy Jonathan and I said, "Hey, you know, this team, Nashville Soccer Club, has built this stadium and they're opening it up on May 1st. You want to go?" There was no hesitation. He said, "That would be fun." I mean, Nashville is where it all began. So tickets were bought, hotel was booked, and we were on our way on Saturday, April 30th. Many memories were said throughout the truck ride from Hattiesburg to Nashville from the 2017 match. We didn't know what would await us, though, as we got into Nashville. We got into Nashville off the freeway to go to the hotel, and the first thing we see, a billboard with a sign that says stadium opener on May 1st, showing Walker Zimmerman and the stadium. Kind of a pretty cool omen to see that. So on Saturday evening, we drove by GEODIS Park for the first time, and silence came over us as we drove by. I don't know if we were tired from the 7-hour drive or if we were just in awe. I think we were in awe, though. We drove around maybe 2 or 3 times to get the layout for Sunday. I don't know if it was the train whistles outside the hotel that night, the early morning thunderstorm, or whatever else was happening at the hotel, or maybe just excitement. But I didn't get much sleep that Saturday night, as I kept thinking what GEODIS Park would look like inside and picturing our seats. We finally got up on Sunday morning, May 1st, and there was something different in the air. Something of anticipation, elation, hope, excitement, expectation. Just something was different. Before we went to GEODIS Park, we had to stop at Melrose Place, ML Rose Place, for a free match meal. This was probably the best burger around. I got to give my compliments to Wes Bowling, who is the voice of Nashville Soccer Club. He recommended this place, and it was hands down the best place you could ever go. So if you're ever in Nashville, go by ML Rose Place and tell them that Wes Bowling sent you. Then we made our way to the stadium, and the first thing we see is the stream of fans swarming the area. We were there, but yet we had not yet made it inside. Once we made it inside, the crowd was already amazing, but yet we hadn't made it to our seats just yet. We found our section and made it down to the steps, a moment 5 years in the making, 20 years as a soccer fan in general, but a moment nonetheless. I kind of had to fight back some tears. Then the moment that just made it all feel real, there was a picture of me and Jonathan becoming a Nashville SC supporter. He made me a Spurs supporter in 2017, so I made him a Nashville supporter in 2022. He did say he was in. Then the match started, and to hear the crowd, the 30,000 people, wow, never had experienced something like that in my life. The anticipation was worth it. As the match went on, every chant, every post hit, and let me tell you, on our end, we were sitting in the second row right next to the goal, and we witnessed maybe 2 or 3 post hits that Nashville Soccer could have had goals. I was on the edge of my seat. Then at halftime, I just had to sit and let it all in. I sat there, watched the stadium, looked around. I just could not believe what I was seeing. Then in the second half, Randall Leal's penalty kick was the icing on the cake. Even though it was 1 point and it was a win in my book. What an awesome experience. Nothing could have been any better. Even though I'm in South Mississippi and probably won't make every single match in Nashville, I'm still a Nashville soccer fan for life. To GEODIS Park and Nashville Soccer, thank you from the bottom of my heart for the experience and it will be a moment in my life I will always remember. And when someone asks, have you ever been to GEODIS Park? I hear it's the best soccer stadium in the world. I'll say yes, it is the best soccer specific stadium in the world, and it's in Nashville, and you should go and see it.
That's a really cool experience there, Cary. I know you got some pictures that you have from it. They're going to share with us and the audience right now that we want to see, and especially Soccer Moses. That's my favorite.
Yes, I got to meet this great guy. He calls himself Soccer Moses, yeah. So I'm going to show you some quick pictures really quick. I think I got 2 of them. Kind of where the seats were, where our seats were, and then a picture of Soccer Moses outside. It was pretty cool. So here is our seat. As you can see, we were sitting in pretty much, it was the second row, and this was probably the best seat in the house. I don't think you could find another seat anywhere. There's not really a bad seat in GEODIS Park from what I hear, but this was the best place that you could be. If you look in the background around this area here, this is where the roadies and the back line and all the supporters jump, scream, chant, do everything. So that's pretty cool. One of the other cool things is the canopy around the stadium. It goes all the way around the stadium. Helps shade the fans depending on where the sun angle is. But we were in the shade the whole game. I know in some areas everybody wasn't, but we were in the shade most of the time. So as we were walking outside, going back to our car, trying to, just bring everything in, I came across somebody that I have come to love. And this guy right here, his name is Soccer Moses. And he is one of the biggest supporters of Nashville soccer. He is out there with this sign saying, "Let my people go." He was very gracious enough for me to get a picture with him. And, this guy is probably one of the greatest influencers of Nashville soccer. And really, really enjoyed meeting him.
Well, one might say he's an Old Testament supporter of NSC.
Right. So I thought that was a pretty cool experience, especially to get to meet Soccer Moses.
Nice.
That's cool.
Were you able to listen to Wes Bowling's play-by-play call from inside the stadium?
Yeah, so I didn't have a radio with me, but I did have my phone, and I listened to Wes Bowling and Eddie Carvacho. I believe Eddie was there. Excuse me, it was Tony Husband and Jamie Watson on the call. But Wes Bowling did have the pregame show and the postgame show. I was able to listen on my phone on iHeartRadio. It was a little bit behind, but it was still cool to hear what Tony Husband and Jamie Watson had to say about it. And then to hear Wes Bowling. Wes is one of those guys out there. He's not known that well, but I tell you something, in Nashville, he is known. So if you ever want to watch, whenever you're watching a Nashville soccer game or you're around Nashville and there is a soccer game, you need to put your phone on iHeartRadio to listen to Nashville soccer with Wes Bowling, because he is the man when it comes to, everything about Nashville soccer. This guy is really good. And then Eddie Carvacho with him giving the color commentary. Two guys that are just great. I really enjoy him. I unfortunately did not get to meet Wes this time. Looking forward to meeting him soon when I do go back, if that's sometime this year or next year. So that would be a cool experience to finally get to meet Wes and get to know him more.
Awesome.
Well, that's cool. Well, that's a glowing endorsement. I know Joe and I have a friend of the show that lives in Nashville, our friend Chelsea, and she was actually talking to me earlier this week saying that she wanted me and my wife to come up there and find some kind of cool event. Maybe it'd be going to see the NSC play. I've never actually been to an MLS match.
I tell you, if you haven't been to an MLS match and you're not really a soccer fan, you don't have to be a soccer fan to come see Nashville soccer. There is so much to do. They have great food in the concessions. They have music before, at halftime, after the game. It's just a great experience. And to be there with 30,000 people, the largest soccer-specific stadium in the country, is just second to none. And I really recommend, if you're in Nashville, there's Nashville soccer going on, you got to get out to GEODIS Park, Castle on the Hill, and see these guys play.
Well, I'm definitely going to do it, Cary. I studied abroad in London, and one of my big regrets is I didn't go to a Premier League match when I was there. The tickets were like so high that I never could quite bring myself to do it. I'm a very bandwagon Manchester United fan, as in I'll watch it if it's on, and that's just the team I chose, mostly because of Euro Truck.
Right. Right.
I like that Manchester United theme song. That's not their song.
Yeah.
All right, Cary, why don't you tell us a little bit about Southern Miss Baseball? They're hosting regional this weekend, and now you can switch your little screen for us and switch hats.
Yeah. So as we move over here to Pete Taylor Park, we've
just switched states in a second.
Yes, we did.
We've gone 7 hours in 1 second.
We went from Tennessee all the way down to Mississippi. So
the Steelers didn't change that much either.
Yeah. So Southern Miss is hosting the Hattiesburg Regional this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with the if necessary game on Monday. Southern Miss on Friday at 1 p.m. is going to be playing Army, along with Kennesaw State and LSU going to be playing at 6 o'clock on Friday. So you have Southern Miss, Army, Kennesaw State, LSU in this region. Probably going to be a pretty darn good region. Apparently, you can't get a ticket. It has been sold out. That's what the word on the street is from Southern Miss Baseball Twitter. So if you're looking for a ticket, you may not be able to find one. So it's going to be a lot of people there, and it's going to be a good experience to see. I know these guys for Southern Miss Baseball have been tough all year. They're grinding. They know their stuff. They have Scott Berry is one of the greatest coaches around. I think they can make some heads turn in this region if they can buckle down and get the job done.
Well, Cary, let me ask you a question. Do you think there's going to be, when Southern Miss inevitably gets that game with LSU, who do you think is going to have more people there? Because that could be an issue in Hattiesburg. We know those LSU fans travel.
Yes, they do, don't they? Well, I can tell you this: there'll be a lot of gold in Hattiesburg come, Saturday night. If that does happen, that Southern Miss does play LSU. Both teams got to win Friday to make that happen. So, that could be, one for the ages, and it'd be a fun one to see. So that would just be a fun one to see, I think.
Does your dad have his tickets yet?
Yes, he got his tickets. He actually got his tickets after when we were selected to host. So I think it was Sunday night, and he was able to get on and get his tickets and get everything done so that he can get there. So he has his tickets.
Awesome. Wouldn't be a regional without him. I wanted to ask you, Cary, about the matchup with LSU and USM. And just looking on paper, I feel like LSU's got a great offense. Their pitching staff leaves something to be desired. But I feel like USM is a really kind of underrated star pitcher. Could you tell us a little bit more about him?
Yeah, well, it depends on who they come out and pitch. You have Tanner Hall, Hunter Riggins, and Waldrop out there. The three guys that are the weekend rotation. Just depends on who we decide to come out and pitch on Friday. Of course, that hasn't come out yet, so you got to get past Friday if you want to go and play, LSU. But although, if you don't get past Friday and LSU doesn't get past Friday, you still got that chance you can meet, in the loser bracket game on Saturday, and that one would be a crazy one in its own self, because one could be going home and one could be, still in the tournament. So, there's kind of two sides to the coin here, So, but, Hall, Riggins, and Waldrop are three of the top, tier pitchers in the league. In Conference USA, they showed it during the tournament, even though we didn't get all the way to the championship game. they still showed their stuff all year. They've been showing their stuff. So, I think it's going to be a good matchup if it happens.
Yeah,
Well,
I saw where Hall's like top 5 in the country in strikeouts. And so,
Yeah.
if I'm Scott Berry, I feel like I would hold him for the possible matchup with LSU. I feel like I wouldn't start him against Army if it was me.
Yeah, that could be the trick, but you also got to think, do you want to risk not winning that first game? Do you want to go after that first game with your best guy and make sure you can get all the way to Sunday? Because if you win that first game, you win one more, you're in the championship game on Sunday. So there's a lot to think about in this. A lot of scenarios that I'm sure Coach Berry is thinking about. I'm sure he's going to pick the right guy for the job. Again, it's just going to be a good regional to come watch. I'm sure both games on Friday, even though it's not USM and LSU playing Friday, both games on Friday are going to be pretty packed out.
Well, Army's a team that I feel like you see them in a regional every year, usually as a 3 or a 4 seed, and they usually win a game or two in the regionals they play, and it's a tough out. That's not an easy 4 seed. I think I'd probably pitch the Star number 1 because I feel like every time I watch Army, they get a whole bunch of runs.
Right. Yeah. So it's going to be, like I said, do you go with your usual weekend rotation, or do you mix it up and see what happens?
All right, Cary. Well, while we got you on, do you think that USM holds it down and makes it to the Supers, or do you think that LSU is going to come in and sneak it away from them?
I don't really know. I'm not going to go out on the limb and take a pick with this. I think whoever comes out of Saturday has a good chance to go all the way. You could see Southern Miss and LSU meet on Saturday in the winners bracket. They come back on Sunday, meet in that second game on Sunday, and then come back on Monday with the if necessary game and meet on Monday. So it's just going to be one of those regions to watch. And with Ole Miss being in the region opposite, that's going to be an interesting thing over there in Miami. If Ole Miss can get past Arizona, maybe get past Miami, USM gets past LSU and comes out of the region, could be looking at a super regional.
That'd be crazy. Yeah,
One for
Hattiesburg
the
versus Ole Miss.
I will come to one of those games if that happens.
Yeah.
Promise.
Yep. So it could be a repeat of when they met together back early in May. That could have been a foreshadowing on what could be happening.
That game might have been the reason that Ole Miss even snuck in, was that win right there.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
All right, well, Cary, well, it's great having you on the show, and we'll look forward to having you back on, and go Golden Eagles.
Southern Miss to the top, and everyone in. Come on, you boys in gold.
All right. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit of Ole Miss and Auburn baseball. Thank you again, Cary. And as always, I'm Dan.
And I'm Joe.